losing sleep over a timeshare they can't get rid of. That's why 15 years ago, I founded Wesley Financial Group to help people take their lives back. Today, I run Wesley with my two sons, a real family business, treating every client and every employee like we would want our own family to be treated. That mindset has helped us cancel over 50,000 timeshares from people just like you. So if you're stuck in a timeshare, give us a call. Let our family help your family.
Call Wesley now for your free timeshare exit kit. 800-261-3377. 800-261-3377. 800-261-3377.
Filling out paperwork on a crash we had earlier out through Rutherford County. It's over to the side, 24 eastbound. It's going to be near Fortress, near Highway 96. It's already started to build out through the Antioch area, headed out to Murfreesboro now on 24 going east. A little bit of radar out through the Mount Julian area earlier through that stretch of Wilson County down I-40. And when you need dependable towing for that car or truck here in Middle Tennessee, call the professionals, STR Towing and Recovery. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Local farmers, local meats, vegetables, and other produce at the Winter Spring Rutherford County Farmers Market.
Bundle up and make your way every Friday at Lane Agri Park.
Rutherford weather.
Flood watch in effect for Friday. Showers and storms develop late tonight with a low of 62 degrees. Heavier rain through the day on Friday with a high temperature of 69 degrees. From the WGNS Rutherford Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Raymond. Right now, it's 7.
We do it your way at Sir Pizza.
Join the team at Murfreesboro's favorite pizza restaurant. Sir Pizza is now hiring at all 3 locations. Come by and be part of the team at Sir Pizza.
We're the Good Neighbor Network, FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna, audio and video streaming at wgnsradio.com.
From the first pitch to the final buzzer, this is where the conversation starts. All sports talk on WGNS and Big G TV, covering the Preps, MTSU, news from Tennessee and nationwide. Now, here's All Sports Talk on the Good Neighbor Network.
Hello everyone, and welcome back here on All Sports Talk here on a Thursday night here at the WGNS studio. Dylan Simmons with you, and I'm pleased to be joined by Ethan Williams on this Thursday night, fellow MTSU media student. I've known Ethan for a while. He is a great reporter for both Middle Tennessee News and for MTSU Sidelines. He's done great work with articles and video and packages when it comes to football, basketball, you name it, all kinds of different sports. And he is here with us today to talk a little bit about MTSU football and generally college football overall. So, Ethan, first off, how you doing?
I'm doing great, man. This little break we've gotten has been really good for me. And, the transfer portal just opened a few days ago, so I've been keeping an eye on that. And just been having a great time.
Yeah. I'm telling you, man, winter break's been fun. We were talking about it before we went on the air about how we've done stuff over winter break. Got back from North Carolina recently, went skiing, didn't tear anything, so all good there. You've been having some fun with the holiday season, so it's a very festive time of year. And it's also a chaotic time of year. There's a lot going on in the world of college football to definitely go over. But I want to start our discussion tonight with MTSU football's past season, how they did, and what we can look forward to going into 2026-27. So looking at this past year, Ethan, the start of the year was not the prettiest, but I think as time went on, it seems like the football team started to put some things together. Comparing where they started the season to where they ended, what do you think the biggest improvements or developments were for MTSU overall?
The biggest improvement, of course, was just the offense. Roman Gagliano stepped up after an injury to Nick Vadiano and was able to not only fling the ball through the air, but he wasn't afraid to use his legs. That really opened up the offense and allowed this offense to just take off. Winning, I believe it was 2 of the last 3 during the regular season, and there's a lot of hype around Gagliano. And on defense, the defense was really solid all season long. Well, the front 7 was. There was some questions with that secondary and some injuries earlier in the season that really harmed that secondary. But the defense, the front 7 was really mean, great at stopping the run, and they maintained that consistency all year long. And that was something that was really good to see.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, we saw how at the start of the year things were a little bit shaky on both sides, I would say, but they were able to, I think, play more complete as a team overall, figure some things out, develop that team chemistry, and start to put the pieces together as far as playing a complete game. Jumping off of that and the defensive performance in general, there were a lot of things that Middle Tennessee struggled with at points this season defensively, and I think there were some games that got away from them, especially earlier in the year. You talk about the 34 points given up against Austin Peay. They gave up, I think, 42 to Wisconsin. As far as the defensive performances go, what did you notice that stuck out to you as far as how they were able to improve, and what are some things that they can improve on for next year?
Well, the biggest improvement that I saw, I mentioned the secondary wasn't that great, but the secondary did start to play better as the season went on. We saw them rotate in some new faces. In a way, they had to do that because they had some injuries in the secondary, but also just, Darren Mason in one of his post-game press conferences said, we're going to give guys opportunities. If you're getting on the field and we feel like you're not giving us your best, well, we're going to put somebody out there who is. And we saw some great performances from Jackson Lowe. Number 25, he had a great stretch towards the end of the season. And a lot of the younger guys that we saw get in just got some more experience under the belt. They were able to jump some balls that you wouldn't see them do at the start of the season. They were able to make some plays that, maybe they wouldn't have had the confidence or the knowledge how to do earlier in the season. And just seeing how these young players really stepped up to fill in these roles after injury and just the adversity that the team faced was a very good thing. Heading into next year, though, it's going to be a little weird. We've had several defensive players hit the portal, and several graduate as well. Abdul Muhammad, the top defensive back, number 21, he hit the portal, or he didn't hit the portal, he graduated, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Parker Hughes, probably the best part of that defense. He's graduated. Expect him to be like an undrafted free agent. I mean, he was really a great baller. But, I mean, in the portal, they lost Alex Mitchell, who was a very hyped prospect coming in out of UT Chattanooga. Got hurt, missed a lot of time, but, you saw when he was on the field. Muaz Byard, brother of, FTSU legend Kevin Byard. He's hit the portal, he's gone. Pretty much the whole MTSU defensive line has hit the portal, barring, a few players here and there. So that's going to disrupt this defensive consistency because they've had a large amount of turnover on defense now.
Yeah, it's been a massive shift as far as the roster and the personnel from year over year, and that's kind of the modern reality of college football. We'll get more into portal later, but it is interesting to think about how they will shift things, and for those pieces that are returning, what they can do to step up in 2026. So that's going to be a big test up ahead for Tennessee. We already mentioned Roman Gagliano. Obviously, he's a big story for this MTSU team. What he was able to do, generating some energy, it can't be understated. And really, he played a really consistent brand of football, I think, towards the end of the year, and was always able to step up in the big moments. What impressed you specifically about him late in the season, and what do you think he brings to this MTSU offense overall?
What impressed me is just a lot of the confidence he has in his throws. I believe he was a redshirt freshman, and he was out there making throws that, not to discredit Nick, I love Nick Vadiato, but his throws, he had confidence to make some throws that Nick wouldn't try. Yes. And also, he's just a bit more mobile than Nick. Nick, we saw him use his legs here and there in the Nevada game. He had 2 rushing touchdowns against Nevada that got them the win. But really, he just tried to stay in the pocket and really only tried to run when there was no other option. But Roman, if he sees a lane, if the defense is going to back off, go in man, or give him some space, he's going to take off, and he's going to get yards, and he's going to force contact.
Yeah, that's the thing about Roman. He is not afraid to take off. He uses his wheels, and he uses them well. This may not be the right comparison, but when I see his play style, I kind of compare him to like Arch Manning in the way that he plays football. He's got an arm that can definitely do some damage, but when a play is breaking down, he's not afraid to just take off like a rocket right up the middle and run for 30, 40-yard score, whatever the case may be. Of course, you were there when he had that signature play against Western Kentucky in his first career start. So we know this guy is fast, and he can certainly take defenses off their heels. And I'm just so curious and excited to see what he can do with a full season's worth of work next year, 2026. How about you?
I am too. I do have some concerns about that offensive line because they've lost a lot on the offensive line. Let's see, they had Otts, the left tackle, he graduated. Ellis Adams, a guy who was able to step up and really play pretty much every position on the offensive line, he's graduated. They lost Mateo Guevara, another guy who's been with the program forever, and he was a plug-and-play guy. They could put him anywhere on the line and he would ball out. He hit the portal, as well as E.J. Harris, transfer from Auburn, who just spent a year with the Blue Raiders before hitting the portal. The Blue Raiders did get a great guy, Tim Jacobs, a D2 transfer from Ohio Dominican. And I think he's got a big frame, 6'4", over 300 pounds, so he'll be able to help out on that offensive line. But just keeping him upright in the pocket, I'm a little worried about that. He can take off, but you don't want a quarterback as good as we perceive him to be taking a lot of hits.
Yeah, that's the thing. You got to protect the quarterback. Every coach will tell you that. Every offensive line, they understand that mission. So it's going to be vital for MTSU to protect Roman next year, and that'll be interesting to see how the offensive line does change over. And again, we'll get more into that later with the specific roster additions they're looking to have. But as far as the standout players go from this year who are returning for MTSU, I think of guys like A.J. Jones, who really kind of flashed his talent towards the end of the season. Landon Collins, he was a bit unsung, but towards the end of the year, he really started to pick up the pace. Are there any other guys that stick out to you, or any other players who are going to be coming back next year that you see as potential vital pieces for MTSU that could be on the horizon of a breakout season?
Yeah, you mentioned Landon Collins. He's a big one for me. Landon, a true freshman walk-on from Farragut High School over in the Knoxville area, came in, and he was one of those guys that Derek was talking about, where it's like, we're going to give you an opportunity. You're going to play. If you keep playing good. And he got some really great catches, and I expect him to be much more involved. Another receiver, Cam Lacey. You saw him bits and bobs all throughout the season, but I mean, he's always liable to catch a pass and make a big game with it. He's really shifty. He looked great against Kennesaw. He really started looking good when Roman was feeding him the ball. So very excited to see Cam Lacey come back. Another player who's, I expect, will get a lot more snaps here in year two of his college career, is DJ Taylor, Riverdale running back legend DJ Taylor. He's very similar to Shaquille O'Neal, I feel. Just a little bit bigger, but he's agile, he's fast, and he's a playmaker. And I'm very excited to see how he's going to work in this new offense. That don't forget, they're getting a new offensive coordinator. They let go of Bodie Reeder. They decided to part ways with him, and I'm very excited to see how DJ Taylor and Roman Gagliano and Cam Lacey, all these great guys, are going to be able to fit into it.
Yeah, I think it's has the potential for a really solid offense next year if all those guys produce at the rate that we think and expect that they'll be able to do. One thing that we will go and think about a lot with this season, I think, when we look back at it in the years to come, is how many close games MTSU had in conference play that kind of went away from them. I look back to the loss at Kennesaw State. They lost by 8 points to the Conference USA champion on the road. Lost by 2 points to Missouri State at home. We were there for that one. Lost by 3 to Delaware. Lost by 3 to Jacksonville State. They were in it with Western Kentucky for quite a bit of time. So when you look at the season, obviously the record isn't the prettiest, but they had a lot of chances in conference play to compete with some of the best teams in the conference. And I think that's going to be something looking ahead to 2026, is that it took a while for this team to learn, I think, how to put all the pieces of the puzzle together to win this kind of game. But once they did, they really started to catch some of that potential that we thought they were capable of. So do you think that's going to be something they look back at, especially a lot of those returners going into next year, is like, hey, we hung in with the best in the conference, we can do it again?
Absolutely. And, some of these losses that they had were either down to just not being able to finish the game, not playing full quarters, just an unlucky bounce of the ball, or some decision making. At Kennesaw State, they had 2 opportunities to kick field goals, and that could have made it just a 2-point game instead of an 8. And when things get that tight, it changes it completely. Missouri State, they lost at the last second. They missed a field goal in the last second against Missouri State for that loss. But I think that this team and this coaching staff is really going to drill into them, just play full quarters, leave it all on the field, and especially with what we've seen later in the season, this season, if you're not giving your best, they're not going to be afraid to let you sit on the bench. They're not going to be afraid to let the freshman or the sophomore underneath you make a play.
Yeah, that's something Coach Mason and that staff, they make sure to prioritize, is give your 110% each and every time you step out onto the gridiron. And do your best to get MTSU in position to win. I think with teams, sometimes it takes a while for a team to figure out how to, for lack of a better term, win a football. Sometimes there are things, little hurdles that you have to find a way to overcome, but once you do, it really establishes a confidence and an ability that you may not have had earlier in the season, because you look at how they finished the year with a win over Sam Houston, a win over New Mexico State, who may not have had the most impressive records in CUSA, but you could argue that earlier on in the year, those are games that they may have lost. They established that confidence, that rhythm as the season went on, and I thought that was a great thing to see development-wise for the Blue Raiders. Last thing before we go to break here, ultimately, and we're not the authority on this, but when MTSU fans look at this season in the perspective of building toward the future, what can they take away as far as making progress toward the coming years and building a potential championship team down the line in the years to come?
Biggest thing they got to do is just win football games, because when you get these high school recruits, and Derek Mason is a phenomenal recruiter. You know, we've heard him talk at press conferences, during media days. You know, I'm hearing him talk about this team during media day, and I'm getting tired. I'm getting ready to throw the pads on and get out on the field. He's a phenomenal recruiter, and they'll get some guys here and there, but the biggest thing that's going to help them, not only recruits who can help build this championship roster, but also get guys out of the portal, guys, you know, who are looking for some better opportunities, is just to win games. Because winning really, really helps that decision-making process for players looking for a new home.
Yeah, winning cures a lot of ills, and for MTSU, that'll certainly be a big goal for them coming up in the future. All right, when we come back here on All Sports Talk, we'll talk a little bit about expectations for 2026 and beyond, preview next year's roster, and talk about the transfer portal, which is on fire as we speak for MTSU and plenty of other teams in college football. All that and more on the way here on All Sports Talk.
This is Chip Walters, and I'm honored to be your 2024 MTAR Realtor of the Year. I'm with Exit Realty Bob Lamb & Associates, and like many of you, I've seen the real estate market shift and change. People often ask, Chip, what's really going on? Well, that's a great question, and I believe in answering with solid, factual data. So let's cut through some of the noise. I invite you to reach out. Let's have a conversation about your real estate goals and the current market trends in your neighborhood. You can find all my contact information at choosechip.net.
If someone asked, what's your more? Would you be surprised? Well, at First Bank, knowing your more is where we start. Whether it's seeing your kid's college graduation, seeing the world, or seeing the ocean from your patio, your more helps us see who you are. That's why First Bank offers you more time, more access to local lenders and leaders, more answers, and more products. So tell us, what's your more? First Bank. Bank local. Get more. Member FDIC.
You're listening to the flagship station for Blue Raiders sports.
On 20, 15, 10, 5, touchdown, Middle Tennessee. Play up, bench, Cole.
Middle Tennessee football, basketball, and baseball. Yeah, we got them.
You're listening to the flagship station for Blue Raider Athletics. I'm Chip Walters. Hear the games here on News Radio WGNS.
Middle Tennessee win. Raiders win the championship.
Your source for the Big Blue and the Borough. News Radio WGNS.
Clark's Auction Company will get you top dollar for your property.
Auctions are easy, fast, and profitable.
You have a staff that comes to your home. They walk you through it. It's been my experience. What I thought I should get for my home, I got much more for it.
Call Parks Auction and Realty or visit parksauction.com.
Clark's Auction Company will get you top dollar for your property.
Clark's Auction Company, committed to auction excellence.
Howdy to you, 27 high.
The Doug Young Educator of the Month, sponsored by City Tile and Floor Covering on Spring Street, is Amy Swikert, an early childhood education assistant at Holloway High School.
I always wanted to have a house full of children and was unable to have my own, so being in education allows me to share my love, guidance, and encouragement with the students every day.
Amy says the best part about her job is loving on the babies each day.
The opportunity to nurture and care for the babies each day, giving them love and attention while their moms focus on completing their education. Being able to support both the child and their moms in this way makes my role incredibly rewarding.
Amy Swikert, an early childhood education assistant at Holloway High School, is the Educator of the Month.
Inspiring even one family to believe in themselves would be the greatest accomplishment of all.
The Doug Young Educator of the Month, sponsored by City Tile and Floor Covering. Know an outstanding teacher? Nominate them at wgnsradio.com/educator.
Good afternoon. We just spotted a crash up against the wall on 24 eastbound at Harding Place. It's already very heavy here and saturated with a lot of traffic volume. Trying to get through this stretch at Antioch, 24 east at Harding Place on the crash. Building pretty good now towards the Mount Juliet area here on I-40 as you come past Belinda Parkway. Trying to get south of town. It's building pretty good down into Brentwood, Franklin on 65 going south. When you need dependable towing for a car and truck, STR Towing and Recovery. I'm Commander Chuck, your on-time traffic.
It's all sports talk from the Good Neighbor Network, FM 1019, 100.5, AM 1450, wgnsradio.com, and Big G TV.
Welcome back to All Sports Talk here on a Thursday night, first ever Thursday episode for me, and we're starting off the Thursday episodes with a bang. Myself and Ethan Williams are here for you on this Thursday night, talking all things MTSU football as we turn over the calendar to 2026. Ethan, did you do anything fun for New Year's this year by chance?
Well, I had a scare ice skating. I went ice skating, I think it was New Year's Day.
Yes.
I went ice skating. And I had a little scare. I slipped and fell, and I heard a crack. And I got back up and thought, "Oh Lord, I've broke a rib or I broke an elbow." But no, it's just I don't know where the noise came from, but we're all good.
Yeah, it's never good when you hear a crack ice skating in any capacity. I tried it out once at Ober-Gatlinburg. I don't have the ankles to do it. I was just like flopping around everywhere. I don't think I've ever seen my dad laugh harder than that day. He still talks about it. So, but at least I bet you probably took to it better than I did, even though you did have a slip and fall. I mean, were you able to at least stay upright for most of the time, right?
I had to use the wall almost the whole time. The only time I got off the wall, I caused like a little pile up because they made us all get off the ice to redo it, and everyone got on the wall, and I'm just drifting down the middle, and this girl like trips over me, and then a guy comes around and trips over her, and I felt so bad, but you know what? I did it.
I feel your pain. I feel your pain on that one. You should try skiing with me sometime. That's a lot easier and it's a lot more fun. But enough about skiing. Let's get into MTSU football. Now, looking ahead to 2026, Ethan, and this kind of bounces off what we talked about earlier, but what were some guys that MTSU fans can probably count on to be key contributors and guys to watch for the upcoming season? We kind of talked about this previously as well. But as far as like guys you've seen from even the portal, per se, who are some guys that MTSU fans who may not be as familiar with these guys can take a look at?
Well, of course, we have Roman Gagliano. We expect him to develop. I'm a little worried, though. We talked about it in the first segment, where this offensive line, they've lost 4 key pieces to this offensive line, right. 2 to graduation, 2 to the transfer portal. And I'm a little worried that we're going to see what we saw a couple of years ago with Nick Vattiato in his redshirt junior year, where he had like about 2 seconds to figure out what he was going to do with that ball before the defender was bringing him to the ground. But they've already managed to bring one guy in, Tim Jacobs, offensive lineman from Ohio Dominican, a D2 school, transferred in, and he's got a big frame, and I'm really excited to see what they're going to be able to do with him and where they're going to put him on the line. Returning, we have AJ Jones, who really caught fire in that last half of the season, and he's probably going to be Roman's main target heading into next year. Cam Lacey, we mentioned him in the first segment. He's liable to break away on a big play. We saw him a lot during the Kennesaw State game. And then Landon Collins, the true freshman walk-on from last season, who really got involved late in the year. Made some great catches, made some big plays. Excited to see him return as well. And then with some losses to the portal, it looks like DJ Taylor, as of right now, we don't know who they're going to get in the portal. We don't know, what this roster is going to shake out like just yet. But DJ Taylor looks like he's going to be the lead guy next year. And I think he should be. He had some great plays last year. He's very similar to Jaquil Middlebrook in the way that he plays, both being a receiving threat and a rushing threat.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think DJ got better as the year went on, and he had some really nice games where he did a lot of damage, both offensively and even sometimes on special teams. I think he returned a couple kicks at points this season. So he's a really solid, very talented player. And I think overall MTSU, especially with the youth, they've got a lot to be excited for as far as talent goes for next year. We've talked about it a lot, but the transfer portal, obviously, it's been all over the place for MTSU so far. You've had a few guys coming in. You've had a lot of guys who've gone into the portal. We saw Hunter Tipton just last night, committed to Memphis. So that's another example of a former MTSU player going on and going to the American or whatever conference you're talking about. When you look at what we've seen so far from the MTSU side, Ethan, who are some guys that intrigue you as far as offers, players who have committed from the portal, and guys who've even maybe visited MTSU? I mean, it seems to me, especially, and you talked about this just a second ago, but they seem to be going heavy offensive line, especially as of late, as to potential guys they could get. I saw there was one guy from Maine that they offered, who was an All-American, I think, in the FCS. So who are some guys, portal-wise, you think that MTSU fans should keep an eye on?
Well, of course, we've already got Tim Jacobs, who I've mentioned, and I'm excited to see him get in. Another guy that we've got coming in to kind of fill that role of Hunter Tipton. And I don't really know if, we don't have a lot of tape on this guy. We have Jaden Hambrick. He's a JUCO transfer, big frame, 6'5", over 200 pounds, big frame. But when you look at the stat sheet, it doesn't really pop out that much. Over his 10 games at his JUCO school, he had 9 catches for 67 yards and a touchdown. Maybe not the biggest receiving threat just based off the stat line, but, he's a big guy that can get in the way. We're also going to have Galloway come back, the transfer from Purdue. He's still on the team as of right now. And we saw him play a little bit in the later half of the season. Primarily in blocking situations. And with the new offensive coordinator and the new offense that it looks like they're going to try to introduce here, it seems like they're really focusing on the run and establishing the run, which I think they should do. MTSU would really they'd get down early and they'd start throwing the ball a whole lot more in some of these games this season and really just get away from the run. And I think that harmed them a lot offensively. His name evades me, but MTSU does have a receiver that I like, a guy from the Virginia Military Institute, an FCS team. He visited just 2 days ago. And I think that he could be a really good piece, a really nice addition to this offense, this receiving room especially, that's already got a lot of great talent that we've mentioned. And I fingers crossed, hopefully he'll commit, but we really need to see a whole lot more, not just on the offensive line, but on defense. I mean, MTSU's lost a lot on defense. They've got 3 of their biggest contributors at linebacker are gone. Alex Mitchell has entered the portal again after just 1 year as a Blue Raider. Parker Hughes graduated. Muaz Byard in the portal after he got some playing time last year. And as well as the defensive line. I mean, they lost a lot both on the edge and the defensive interior. And that's their whole front 7 pretty much gone. And that's something they did very well defensively last year. So that's something they're going to have to rebuild heading into the portal. And, they've got these recruits on the roster as well. I'm sure there's some young guys that are going to get a shot and that are really going to impress us. Some names that we may not be thinking of right now, but come, October, November, they're going to be names that are ingrained into our heads.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that as far as if I was a coach, and again, I'm the furthest thing from a college football coach, but if I were a coach, I would want to see MTSU try to strengthen the trenches, because I'm a firm believer, and maybe it's because I'm a Miami fan now, but I'm a firm believer that whoever wins the line of scrimmage usually wins the football game. And I'd love to see MTSU reinforce that. You talked about establishing the run. So I'm liking that they're seemingly trying to go heavy offensive line. I think that's a really good strategy for them so far. And I'm hoping that they land some of those guys that have either gotten an offer or visited MTSU, because there's some really solid pieces. There was a guy from Mercer who was a All-American, obviously the Maine Black Bear, who I talked about, that could eventually come to MTSU. So I'm curious to see how that goes. But I would probably emphasize the line of scrimmage. For you, what are some holes and voids that if you were in that position, if you were in Derek Mason's shoes, that you think MTSU should really look to fill, both as the portal goes and as recruits go going into the 2026 season?
I'm with you. I believe offensive line, defensive line, I agree with you fully. In order to win the game, you got to win the battle with the trenches. And I think we see that a lot, both in high school, in college, and in, the NFL. But something that they absolutely have to address, and it's been a problem with this team ever since Derek Mason stepped up, is the secondary. They've had either a really thin or a really weak secondary. They'll have a good starting couple of guys, but one guy, two guy gets injured. Now you're playing some guys who don't have a lot of experience, some younger guys. And so I really would love to see them go after and land, a top DB, or well, not a top DB, but like a solid DB, a solid safety. I would love to see him get a top one of those positions, but realistically, just getting like a guy who's got a lot of experience, a guy who's got some good tape, a guy who's got some good speed, because this defense was, we mentioned their front seven was phenomenal last season. It was the best part of that defense, but the teams don't have to run the ball when they can, get a first down almost every time they put it in the air. So I really want to see the secondary be targeted, and the offensive defensive line, but really they just need help on defense entirely with what they've lost through graduation and the portal.
Yeah. There's going to be some significant losses to recoup for MTSU going into the offseason as far as the defense is concerned. Stepping away from the roster for a second and looking at the schedule for next year for MTSU, we don't have the Conference USA games yet. We've got a pretty good idea of who they're going to be facing, obviously, but we do know the out-of-conference games, and they start the season at home versus Murray State, who I think, if I'm not mistaken, they are Missouri Valley. And then they go to Marshall. They're at Kansas. They go to Lawrence, Kansas to take on the Jayhawks, which that's going to be an interesting game, especially if MTSU starts off 2-0 to the year. And then they're at home versus Nevada. So out of those out-of-conference games, how important is it for MTSU to start strong this season? And what are some games that catch your eye early in the season, Mr. Williams?
Well, of course, Murray State, they're going to have to beat their FCS team. They didn't do that this year, and that affected not only team morale, but it also affected fans. After that first game, after they lost at home to, Austin Peay, a team that they haven't lost to since, I believe, the 70s or 80s, it killed the attendance. People didn't want to watch this team. A lot of people, were already hitting the panic button on the season after just one loss. And so, starting off, they have to play good against Murray State. They've really struggled with FCS teams in the Derek Mason era. They were just one score away from losing to Tennessee Tech, a very historic rivalry for both schools. And of course, they did lose to Austin Peay, but they have to start off strong against Murray. Heading into the Marshall game, I don't know what Marshall team we're going to see yet. They hung with Marshall on homecoming fairly well. But due to the rain delay and, just not playing four quarters, Marshall got away with the win there. And now we're having to go, to West Virginia, and that's going to be a tough game. And it's hard right now with the portal open and in January to, predict how a game in September is going to go. We just don't have all the information yet. But right. I think it's going to be a pretty fair fight, given the information we have right now about both teams. Heading into Kansas, that's the pay me game. That's the game similar to Wisconsin. You don't expect to win, but you play the games for a reason. And Kansas really stepped back this year compared to where they've been the past few years. They were really rising in the Big 12, but now they've stepped back. And we don't know what they're going to look like with the portal. MTSU held it close with Wisconsin this year. And Wisconsin, I think, is a much better team than Kansas. So we'll see what they do with Kansas. And then Nevada, I think they'll beat Nevada. They had a miraculous comeback against the Wolfpack in Reno. And I think this team's a lot better. Like right now, even with all the holes they have in the roster, I feel like they're a lot better right now than they were at the start of the season last year. And Nevada has some holes as well that they're looking to get filled. But I think that heading into the Nevada game, right before you start conference play, it's going to be really important to get that home win, something that, they haven't got a lot of over the past 2 or 3 years.
Yeah. Completely agree as far as those importance, especially winning the Murray State game early in the season and getting off to a good start, and I'm keeping an eye on that Kansas game, especially if MTSU's offense takes off like we hope they will. We'll keep this last one quick, but MTSU, new offensive coordinator Anthony Selfo coming from southeastern Louisiana. They had a really good rushing attack in the FCS, made the FCS playoffs this year. How important is it going to be for him to get this offense right going into the new season, Ethan?
It's going to be urgent. MTSU, their offense really struggled throughout the season. We saw flashes here and there of what this offense could look like. I mean, they put up 10 against Wisconsin in the first half, really puttered out for the rest of the game. They, they were going toe-to-toe with Marshall up until the fourth quarter. They this offense was good enough to keep them competitive in a lot of games, but not good enough to get them the win. And,
right.
I think that they've just got to, start getting the right mindset on offense and start like really getting some urgency in the players. Also new playbook as well. So we'll hopefully not see a bubble screen on 3rd and 10 again, but you never know.
Yeah, it's going to be definitely a tough task for Selfo, but they've got a lot of talent for MTSU this season, and he's certainly a talented guy. It's never easy, especially when you're breaking in a new team like that, but I think he certainly has all the ingredients to get it done. So excited for him and for MTSU football going into the new year. When we come back here on All Sports Talk, we're going to talk a little bit of college football playoff semifinal round is here. We've got 2 big-time matchups. We'll go over it in detail for the final 10 minutes of the show, and the Blue Raider Insider Report is coming up on the other side of this break. Stick around here on All Sports Talk.
This is a breaking news alert from News Radio WGNS.
I'm Brian Barrett. We announced the passing of longtime Middle Tennessee State University First Lady Liz McPhee, wife of President Sidney A. McPhee. The university made the announcement just moments ago. She passed away today. Stephen B. Smith, chairman of the MTSU Board of Trustees, shared news with the campus community, calling her loss a great sorrow, and the university and the many people whose lives she touched, saying, quote, Miss McPhee was beloved by our university community. Her devotion to MTSU over the last quarter century, combined with her career as an educator and her tremendous impact as a volunteer for numerous charitable causes, enhanced the lives of thousands in our city, state, and beyond. Liz McPhee served alongside President Sidney McPhee throughout his 24 years leading the university, becoming a familiar and influential presence at community events, community initiatives, and charitable efforts across Rutherford County and Tennessee. Her work as an educator and her commitment to service made her a respected figure well beyond the university grounds. Smith extended condolences on behalf of the entire Blue Raider community to President McPhee, her husband of 45 years, their son, Sidney Anthony McPhee, and their daughter, Seneca Ann McPhee, and the extended family. Over the next several days, Smith said the MTSU community will share many thoughts, reflections, and expressions of appreciation for Miss McPhee's life and service, as well as information about arrangements once they become available. Again, we break in to announce the passing of Elizabeth Liz McPhee, the longtime First Lady of MTSU and wife of President Sidney A. McPhee. Funeral arrangements and details on a memorial observance will be released by the university when finalized. We'll have more on that story at wgnsradio.com and here on air as well. I'm Brian Barrett reporting.
We can get surprisingly great rates on auto and renter's insurance at State Farm. Hello, I'm State Farm Agent Deb Insel, and we're your one-stop shop for protecting your car and your stuff for a surprisingly great rate. So stop looking around. Team Insel is ready to help. Call 931-684-5274 for your surprisingly great auto and renter's rate today. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
This is Peter Demas. Come eat with us at Demas's restaurant. A lot of times when you get steamed vegetables such as broccoli or cauliflower, it's either soggy. One of the things that we wanted to do was make certain that it was still soft, but still had a little bit of a crunch to it. And so we worked on the procedure of how to cook that. And then all of our vegetables are seasoned with our seasoned salt. We keep that seasoned salt at home, and I can tell you almost all the vegetables I cook at home have the seasoned salt on it. come eat with us at Demas's Restaurant on Northwest Broad Street.
Sign-ups are going on right now for First Shot's Winter Basketball League in Rutherford County. Coach Andy Herzer guides kids to sharpen basketball skills and build teamwork through exciting clinics and games. Since 2003, First Shot has empowered youth to grow in mind, spirit, and body. Don't miss out. Join the fun and develop lifelong skills. Visit FirstShotTN.org today and register for the Winter Basketball League. That's FirstShotTN.org.
McCabe Vision Center.
Everything in my left eye just looked like it was cloudy, foggy, had a skim over it. Looked like I was looking through real dirty glass, and I was having trouble driving. The lights glared, and it's absolutely gone.
He's the eye doctor you hear on the radio.
The eye surgery was a piece of cake. It was so simple, it was so easy, never felt a thing. Once it was over, able to walk right out.
McCabe Vision Center on Heritage Park Drive.
Next on All Sports Talk, it's the Blue Raider Insider Report with Chip Walters of Exit Realty, Bob Lamb & Associates.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Come to you today from the West Texas town of El Paso, Texas, where the Middle Tennessee men's basketball team is set to face its first Conference USA Road Challenge tonight, traveling to take on UTEP tonight and New Mexico State on Saturday. The Blue Raiders take on the Miners this evening at 8 o'clock. The game is on the CBS Sports Network as well as on the Blue Raider Network here locally in Murfreesboro. You can catch it on 95.1 FM, also on the Blue Raider Game Day app as well as GoBlueRaiders.com. Last week against Louisiana Tech, the Blue Raiders returned their good shooting ways, knocking down 22 threes en route to an 88-51 win in the Glass House. That mark topped the previous record for single-game made threes set earlier this year against Milligan of 17. Alec Oglesby knocked down 8 shots from deep against the Bulldogs, scoring a career-high best 25 points, his total tied for the second most in single-game MTSU history, earning him Conference USA Player of the Week honors. Last night in Conference USA, there were a couple of games. Missouri State went on the road to Kennesaw State. Kennesaw got the win, 90-80. Also, Jacksonville State back at home, and they knocked off FIU 71-64. Elsewhere tonight, Liberty is on the road at Louisiana Tech. That game tips off at 6 o'clock. Delaware at Sam Houston. That'll be a 6:30 start. Western Kentucky will be at New Mexico State, and that is also an 8 o'clock Central Time start. Women's basketball, Lady Raiders are back at home after starting the conference season on the road. The Blue Raiders have UTEP tonight inside Murphy Center. They'll also take on New Mexico State on Saturday. Tonight's game, 6:30, and you can hear it right here on WGNS, beginning with the pregame show at 6 o'clock. It marks the 20th meeting in the all-time series between the Blue Raiders and the Miners. MTSU owns a 16-3 lead over UTEP in the all-time series, and the Blue Raiders won the previous meeting 57-35 on March 1st last year on Senior Day. Middle enters the matchup coming off a 69-47 road win over Jacksonville State. 4 Blue Raiders scored in double figures. Elena Contreras led the way with 21 points on 8 of 20 shooting, adding 4 assists and 2 steals while playing 39 minutes. Savannah Davis scored 14 points, knocking down 4 triples while contributing 6 rebounds and a blocked shot in 30 minutes of playing time. Blair Bogus posted a double-double with 13 points and 10 rebounds, also tallying 3 steals and 3 assists. Macy Pfeiffer finished with 11 points on efficient shooting, adding 4 assists and a block in 36 minutes. Bogus was named the Conference USA Freshman of the Week for the 5th time after leading the Blue Raiders to a 2-0 road week to open Conference USA play. Elsewhere in women's basketball tonight, Sam Houston is at Liberty, Louisiana Tech at Delaware, Jacksonville State at FIU, Kennesaw State at Missouri State, and New Mexico State is at Western Kentucky. One other basketball note coming up later on in the month. Middle Tennessee Athletics is excited to announce another edition of the popular Blue Raider Baby Race. The 2026 Great Baby Race will take place on Saturday, January 17th, when the Blue Raiders host Missouri State. Tip-off is set for 5 o'clock with the Baby Race scheduled at halftime. More information on how to register is all located on GoBlueRaiders.com. Again, we'll be on the air at 7:30 tonight on the Blue Raider Network, and tip-off just after 8 o'clock, Middle Tennessee and UTEP from El Paso. That's it for today, folks. We'll have another update tomorrow from Las Cruces, New Mexico, right here on the Big G, WGNS.
It's all sports talk from the Good Neighbor Network, FM 1019, 100.5, AM 1450, wgnsradio.com, and Big G TV.
All right, welcome back here on All Sports Talk, the final segment of our first Thursday edition of 2026. Dylan Simmons alongside Ethan Williams from Middle Tennessee News and MTSU Sidelines. Big time MTSU sports reporter, doing a lot of good work out there. Check out his work. You got a YouTube channel, right, where you post a lot of your reels and video packages, right?
Yeah, it's just the Ethan Williams. I think it's the Ethan Williams on YouTube. I'm a bit more active on Instagram, at EW_on-air. But we also, Dylan, you were a part of the show. We did Blue Raider Extra Point, and that was a lot of fun as well. I got to travel with the team a little bit this year and really get to understand it. And but now their season's over, but we still got college football being played with the college football playoffs.
That is correct. Great segue, my friend. Yes, the college football playoff semifinal round is here. And man, I'm very excited for obvious reasons for those who know which team I root for. But with all that being considered, it is a really, really great time to be a college football fan. Just I think on the basis of the teams that have made the semifinal, because you've got, if you're not a fan of like the big names, you have no Alabama, no Georgia, no Ohio State, no Oklahoma, no Clemson. It's all like, for the most part, I think fresh faces in this semifinal. And I think that's what's going to make it so entertaining and so interesting down the stretch. We will start with the Verbo Fiesta Bowl coming up tonight, coming up in about 30 minutes, actually, funny enough. Number 6, Ole Miss, 13-1, taking on the 10th seeded Miami Hurricanes, 12-2. Obviously, I'm very excited for that one with my Hurricanes playing. But, I've thought about this game a lot, Ethan, as to how it could go. I don't know if I've got a great gauge on this game because you've got two teams that play very different styles of football. Ole Miss is tempo, throw. Trinidad Chambliss looking like Joe Burrow out there making insane plays. The stuff he did against Georgia was just out of this world. It was crazy to see what he was able to do because by all rights, Ole Miss looked like they were going to lose that game, and then Chambliss would pull some rabbit out of the hat, and they'd keep the drive alive, and that was enough to get them the win. It was one of the best playoff games I've seen played by a quarterback in college football history. So I think the big question, this is what I think it leans on, is can Miami's all-star defensive line, which really bottled up Ohio State, can they do that again to Ole Miss? And if they can, will Miami's offense catch a new gear to kind of stretch the lead and keep themselves away from Ole Miss? So, my friend, how do you see this one playing out?
Well, I think this is anybody's game, primarily just because I was a big Ole Miss doubter heading into the playoffs. I thought, Lane Kiffin's gone. They're going to lose some guys to the portal as well. I convinced myself that Tulane had a chance against Ole Miss. I convinced myself.
Did too, to be honest, yeah.
I really convinced myself there was a solid chance we could see Tulane upset Ole Miss. But then they go and upset Georgia, and I thought Georgia would be, one of the teams that we'd be talking about today. But, the defense stepped up, the offense played out of their minds. And heading into the game against Miami's been looking good over the playoffs too. Just barely squeaked in, but they've been able to get some good wins. And it's really just a coin flip, I think, because on one hand, you have a Ole Miss team that's like you mentioned, it's hard to gauge because this is not the Ole Miss team that we've really seen all season long. They've got a new head coach, and they just seem to since Lane Kiffin's gone, it seems like the dog's been let off the leash, and they've really evolved in a way that we haven't seen all season long. Miami's been playing some really good football, though. Miami's got a great roster, some great players, solid defense. Offense, the offense I'm a little skeptical of, but that's just because I like don't I'm not the biggest believer in Carson Beck. And I think Carson Beck may have a very big impact in tonight's game, depending on which one we see. Whether we see, at one point, I believe he was a Heisman contender at some point
He was,
at
especially early in
Georgia.
the season. Yeah.
Yeah, and then of course we've also seen him in his last few snaps at Georgia, how poorly that he kind of seemed to play. So I think this game's a really big coin flip. But I have, as much as I doubt Carson Beck, I really doubt Ole Miss more. And I think the Hurricanes will pull it off, and we'll get to see them in the national championship.
I am not going to make a pick for this game because I'm not trying to jinx anybody, and I don't want to be accused of favoritism. But I don't know. I think this game could go either way. It really, to me, comes down to how well Chambliss is contained. If he is, I think Miami wins. If he's not, it's going to be down to the wire. I do think Carson Beck is a guy who I trust a little bit more down the stretch because he, especially late in the season, he's been great with decision making. He's been a lot smoother when it comes to the throws that he has made. He's not trying to risk something stupid over the middle. I think Miami did play down to competition a little bit towards the middle part of the season because they were playing in the ACC. And, it's not smart, but I just don't think they respected those opponents as much as they do the big time opponents, because when it's a big game, Miami shows out. They did it against Notre Dame. They did it against A&M. They did it last week against Ohio State. I think they'll do it again here, but I don't know. This is going to be a fantastic game. I'm excited to see it. And the winner, of course, goes to the national championship game. Who would have thought that? It was going to be Ole Miss and Miami at the start of the year. And finally, fifth-seeded Oregon takes on top-seeded Indiana, 13-1, 14-0. No matter what, a Big Ten team is going to make the national title game. This is a rematch from earlier in the season. Indiana won 30-20 in Eugene. I think that game was in mid-October. Right now, to me, Indiana is playing at a level of execution that I don't know if I've ever seen out of a college football team. It rivals even the Nick Saban Alabama teams. They just play so precisely and so mistake-free that it's almost impossible to find a way to beat them. Not to say they can't be beaten, because they've been in close games. They were in a close game with Ohio State, with Iowa, not Indiana. And then Penn State, of course, took them down to the absolute wire. But Indiana already has the blueprint to beat Oregon. So what do you think's going to happen here, Ethan?
Well, first, I just want to talk about how great of a playoff this is. I mean, we've got 4 teams here. Indiana's never been to a national championship. Oregon's never won a national championship. Last time they went, Marcus Mariota was taking snaps under center. Ole Miss, I don't believe, has won a national championship since the 60s. And then Miami, had a lot of success in the early 2000s and has always just been, a
25
name.
years for them.
Yeah, just a big name in college football. But, as you mentioned, 45 years since they last won a national championship. So this is just a really great Final Four. But looking at Oregon and Indiana, as you mentioned, been playing mistake-free football. And, Cignetti, I doubted him a lot when at the start of the season, pretty much up until he beat Ohio State. Because I remember seeing, the articles and stuff about, Indiana's not playing any out-of-conference power teams. They've canceled all their out-of-conference games that are against power teams. And that made me perceive them of, they're winning, but who have they played? And then, of course, the Ohio State win really convinced me. They got for Fernando Mendoza, who's a Heisman winner and looks like he's going to be, if not the number 1 overall draft pick, he's going to be, a top 5 pick in the NFL draft. Going up against a really good Oregon team. Dante Moore's another name that I've been hearing, in NFL draft discussions. I've been seeing, him get mocked into the first round. A lot of talent on that Oregon roster, a lot of money in that Oregon roster. But they've got a solid defense as well. They've got that true freshman defensive back who I think had 3 turnovers against Texas Tech. And they held Texas Tech scoreless in a playoff game, which, that's a phenomenal defense. And, Texas Tech, I believe, was absolutely deserving of where they were. So to see them manhandle the Red Raiders like that, I think this is going to be a phenomenal game between Texas Tech and Indiana. And I think Indiana's going to take it home. I think Indiana's going to take home the win and going to get one more game.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at too. I just think Indiana's they're playing at a high level right now, maybe a higher level than any team I've seen in a while, and I just don't think they're going to make the mistakes that Oregon needs to win this game. But you know the old saying, it's hard to beat the same team twice. Georgia wasn't able to do it, and who knows, maybe Indiana won't be able to do it either. But I think this is going to be a down to the wire game. This is one that I could see going to overtime. It's going to be memorable. I'm going to take Indiana, though, to win 37-28 in a really fun, high-scoring game, and Indiana goes to the national championship game in Miami. All right, so that is going to do it for today's episode of All Sports Talk. Ethan, thank you so much for coming on, and my friend, let's do it again sometime. How about it?
Absolutely. I'd love to be back on the